Good day. This is our Punnett Square video explanation. These are the exercises that are on the portfolio. Our team members are Valeria, Jimena, Pérez, Contreras, Gael, Patricio, Gaytan, Botello, Yvette, Rodríguez, Vargas, Sergio, López, Balderas, Ricardo, Andrés, Véliz, Salgado, and myself, Pedro, Cortés, Almazán. We hope you enjoy our presentation. To start, we're going to do an introduction about what the problems are going to be. In order to predict the genotypes and the phenotypes of the offspring of a particular genetic cross, we use the grid called Punnett square. Well, the Punnett square is the explanation or the form we have been using to solve the offspring exercises on this stage, which will help us calculate the genotype and the phenotype of a specific offspring. We're now going to start with the explanation.
Well, exercise number 1. The information says, on horse, black color is dominant over white. The trot walk is dominant over the fine walk. And the question is, what is the mistake in the Punnett square? And the answer is, the data is not written correctly. Capital N and small n is 3 times. And small n is just 1 time. Here in the Punnett square, the data is not arranged correctly, since the capital N is 3 times. And another hint for this is the result. It says 50% heterozygous for black and 50% for heterozygous for white. Thank you.
Here we have the hybrid cross. The results were 9 black horses with trot, 3 black horses with fine walk, 3 white horses with trot, and 1 white horse with fine walk. The question here is, what is the mistake with the Punnett square? As you can see, the data is not well written in the Punnett square because the cross between the N capital T and N capital and T should be N capital and T, not T capital. And that's the mistake in the Punnett square.
Now, in the following exercises, there will be crosses between 2 parents that have particular genotypes of the gene albinism, where the albinism or the gene for the albinism it's taken in account by capital A, the normal, and lowercase a to albino. Here in the first example, it's a cross of 2 homozygous dominant for normal. So we have that the genotype ratio will be 4, 0, 0. That meaning the 4 of them will be both homozygous dominant for normal, so that the phenotypes ratio are 4, 0. All will be normal and non-albino. In the second example, it's totally the opposite thing, because we now are crossing 2 homozygous but for recessive, and this is to lowercase a and in all cases. So that means that the genotypes were 0, 0, 4. So the 4 of them will be lower case A or recessive, and the phenotypes will be all albino. In this case, we have a cross with an homozygous dominant for normal and heterozygous with a dominant for normal too. But here the genotypes will be 2, 2, 0. That meaning that 2 will be an homozygous dominant for normal, 2 will be heterozygous with the dominant for normal, and that will known for recessive homozygous. And the phenotype will be due to the dominant always be the winner. There will also be 4 normal and 0 albino, unless it not all are homozygous. For this example, we have a cross between when an homozygous with dominant in normal and an homozygous but with a recessive alleles, and the results are all the same but all result in a heterozygous genotype with one dominant allele and one recessive, and these lead to a phenotype of all of them will have a phenotype of normal due to the dominant allele. In this other example or cross, we have an homozygous for recessive and an heterozygous with one dominant allele and one recessive, and in the other one two recessives, and the genotypes are 0, or the radius are 0 to 2, being the phenotypes 50% normal and 50% albino, half and half. And the last one, it's between one genotype with one dominant allele and one recessive, and one dominant allele and one recessive in both sides. And the genotype is the radii of the genotype is 1 to 1, and the phenotypes will be 3 for normal and 1 for albino.
So in this information, we have two homozygotes. That means there are two equals pair which are white and disc, and the other which is spherical and yellow. So homozygous means it has the same gen 2 times. What I did to get the combination was to multiply as algebra to have the combinations and to get the percentage. Of the genotype is to count all the times it appears and divide by the total number of frames they multiply by 100. And for the phenotype, I grab the dominance variables be white and disc, and I get the percentage. So the question is, what are the possible genotypes and phenotypes of the offspring? For the genotypes, is only one. There is capital W, lower w, D capital, lowercase d. There is 100%. The phenotype that is white and disc is 100%.
In this problem, we have that the breeding of a homozygous plant with yellow color and spherical shape with a heterozygous plant with white color and disc shape. In the case of the yellow plant, we can say that all pairs of its genes are recessive, while the other plant has a pair that both dominant, two pairs that are heterozygous, and one last pair that is both recessive. When we combine the genes, we get that every row has the same type of genes. In the first row, we have that both heterozygous pairs. On the second row, we have that the first pair is heterozygous, while the second pair is homozygous. The third row has that the first pair with homozygous recessive and the second pair is heterozygous. Finally, we have the fourth row with both pairs recessive. To get the genotype, we counted 4 cases in each combination of genes, and since there are 16 in total, we can say that each combination has 25%. To get the phenotype, we looked at the existence of dominant genes in each combination. The first row has at least one dominant gene in each pair, giving it a white and disc look. The second row has one dominant in the first pair and none in the next pair, giving it a white and spherical. The third row has no dominant genes in the first pair and one in the next pair, giving it a yellow and disc appearance. Finally, on the last row, we have that are both recessive, giving it a yellow and spherical look. If we count them, divide them by the total number, and we multiply it by 100, it gives us 25% for all genes. And with that, we have calculated the next generation of plants.
Okay, so now we're going to go with the 6th exercise, which states that a male hamster has the genotype capital D, lowercase d, it has a straight fur, and a female hamster that has genotype D and D uppercase and has curly fur. Well, it is asking to complete the Punnett square to show the possible offspring of these hamsters. So what I did was actually just, as we can see in the Punnett square, there are 3 dominant letters, if you could call it like that, and 1 recessive letter. So you just fill out the square, and then we will have a ratio of 2 to an 0, which will mean that in the question A, which states that what is the probability that the hamster offspring will be straight fur, will be 25%, due to the fact that there is no complete way of saying that the animal will have there is no full recessive genotype to explain that it will have a straight fur. So then the other question is, the owner of the female hamster wants offspring with curly fur. What genotype will a male hamster need to have in order to produce only offspring with curly fur? Well, since the problem already states that the genotype of dominance is capital D and capital D, which is curly hair, the only thing to do we will need to have a dominance of curly hair from both parents, where the curly hair shows dominance over the other genotype. This is for both parents to have dominance and a genotype of curly hair for the offspring. So this means that basically the parent will have to have a certain dominance with his previous generation of parents of curly hair for the individual to have a full possibilities to have curly fur. And now explain the principle of dominance. It is Mendel's laws of dominance, in which it states that some alleles in an offspring are recessive and other ones are dominant. When each first generation plant flowers produces gametes, the 2 alleles segregate from each other so that each gamete carries only a single copy of each gene. So this basically states that one offspring is dominant and another one is recessive. It's basically what we did on the Punnett square. So thank you for your attention. We hope you like our presentation.